Here's a business that should be impossible. A company takes water, quite possibly the cheapest, most boring, most freely available product in the history of commerce, puts in a heavy metal-looking black can covered in skulls, calls it Liquid Death, and sells it for around $2 a can. And it worked spectacularly. In just a few years, this brand reportedly hit hundreds of millions of dollars in sales and a valuation in the neighborhood of $1 billion. So the obvious question is, who in their right mind pays beer prices for water? And the answer reveals something a little uncomfortable about almost everything you buy. Let's get the awkward fact out of the way first. There's essentially nothing special about the water inside. It is, by the company's own cheerful admission, just water. Mountain water, sure, but functionally the same stuff that comes out of a tap or a 50-cent bottle. If Liquid Death were selling hydration, it would lose instantly because the competition is free and lives in your kitchen. So the entire business rests on a single strange truth that great marketers have always understood. People will pay almost nothing for the thing and a fortune for what the thing says about them. Liquid Death isn't in the water business. It's in the identity business. Think about who drinks water at a party, a concert, or a bar. The person not drinking alcohol. And for a long time, that person was handed a clear plastic bottle that quietly announced to the whole room, I'm the boring one. I'm not part of the fun. Liquid Death looked at that exact moment of mild social discomfort and saw a $1 billion gap. What if the non-drinker could hold something that looked harder, cooler, and more rebellious than everyone else's beer? The black can with the skull doesn't just hold water. It lets you stay sober at the party without looking like you've opted out of the party. You're not buying hydration. You're buying social cover, and that's worth real money. Now here's the part that makes this a genuinely brilliant business, and not just a gimmick. Look at what Liquid Death refused to do. Every other water brand on Earth competes on the same exhausted promises: purity, freshness, a picture of a serene mountain, a word like natural. They all blur together because they're all making the same boring argument. Liquid Death did the opposite of everyone. The tagline is "Murder Your Thirst." The marketing is loud, funny, slightly offensive, and looks nothing like a beverage ad. By being aggressively weird, it made itself impossible to ignore on a shelf and impossible to confuse with anything else. In a category of whispering, it screamed, and screaming, it turns out, is free advertising. And that points to the real engine here, the one that justifies the price. A normal beverage company spends enormous amounts of money buying ads to interrupt you. Liquid Death flipped that cost upside down. Its marketing is so entertaining and so strange that people share it for free. They post the cans, they wear the merch, they talk about the stunts. The brand turned its own customers into its advertising department. When people pay to put your skull logo on a t-shirt and walk around as a billboard, you've achieved the holy grail of marketing. Your audience is paying you to be advertised to. That $2 can isn't expensive water. It's a membership card to a joke that the customer wants to be in on. Let me give you the number that exposes the whole magic trick. The water and the can, the actual physical product, costs a small fraction of the price you pay. The vast majority of that $2 is not the thing in your hand. It's the brand, the attitude, the permission, the membership. Now, here's the contrarian point most people get wrong when they sneer at this. They say it's just water, people are idiots for buying it. But that's true of almost everything in a modern economy. The cotton in a designer t-shirt costs a few dollars. The materials in a luxury handbag are a tiny slice of the price. You're almost never paying for the atoms. You're paying for the meaning attached to the atoms. And Liquid Death just made that fact unusually honest and funny. But I promise you a real argument. So let me push on a risk, because this model has a sharp edge. A brand built entirely on being cool is standing on the most slippery surface in business, fashion. Coolness is borrowed, never owned. The same crowd that made Liquid Death a phenomenon can decide tomorrow that it's overexposed, that your dad drinks it now, that the joke is stale. A company selling actual technology or a patented ingredient has something defensible when the hype fades. A company selling an attitude has to re-earn its cool every single year, forever, or it dies. The genius of the brand is also its fragility. The moment it stops being a rebellion and becomes just another product on the shelf, the magic and the price evaporates. So how does a brand like this survive that trap? By doing the unglamorous thing underneath the loud thing. The smart play is to use the explosive, free attention to win something durable: shelf space, distribution deals, and a place in your habits. Get the cans into tens of thousands of stores. Become the default sober option at the venue, the gym, the office fridge. Because once you're the convenient choice that's simply there when someone's thirsty, you've converted fragile coolness into sturdy habit, and habit outlives fashion. The attitude gets you in the door. The distribution is what lets you stay after the party's over and the joke's worn thin. So here's the lesson. It's bigger than one can of water. The most valuable layer of almost any product is the invisible one. The story, the identity, the feeling it gives the person holding it. Liquid Death's real innovation wasn't finding better water. It was noticing that millions of people wanted to drink water and still feel like they hadn't surrendered, and then charging for that feeling without apology. The competitors were all fighting over the liquid. Liquid Death walked off and sold the attitude. And the attitude, it turns out, has margins that water could never dream of. If you want a next breakdown, subscribe. One new company every few days. Next time, we'll follow the money behind how an app can mail you a shirt from the other side of the planet for $5 and still come out ahead.